Dash dash dash. The house was quiet, the kind of silence that settles after a long dinner party. The distant ticking of the grandfather clock in the foyer echoed faintly through the grand halls. Michael Harrow walked slowly down the staircase, barefoot, holding his phone in one hand and rubbing his temple with the other. He had forgotten a document in his study and wanted to grab it before heading to bed. The scent of roast chicken and truffle potatoes still lingered in the air. The dinner had been extravagant, as always, 3 courses, fine wine, laughter echoing between the marble columns of the dining room. His guests were gone now. His wife was upstairs, already asleep. The cleaning crew had left hours ago, except for Rosa, who stayed late, as she always did. As Michael moved past the kitchen, he caught a faint sound, the soft clang of metal, like a pot being shifted, followed by the distinct creak of a cabinet door. He paused. It was nearly midnight. Curious, he turned off his phone screen and followed the noise. The kitchen was dark, save for the glow from the under-cabinet lights. Everything was spotless, the countertops gleamed, the stove knobs were polished. But the pantry door, usually shut tight, stood slightly ajar. A shadow moved behind it. Michael frowned. His first instinct was concern. Was someone trying to steal something? Silently, he moved closer, careful not to make a sound. He reached out and pushed the door open slowly. Inside, crouched near the lower shelf, was Rosa. She didn't see him at first. She was sitting on a small upturned crate, her back to the door, shoulders hunched. In her hands was a plastic container, half full with leftover mashed potatoes and a piece of cold roasted chicken. She ate quickly, using her fingers. No fork, no plate, just quiet urgency. Her cheeks were hollow, and the lines on her face looked deeper in the dim light. Michael stood frozen, not sure whether to step forward or step away. He'd known Rosa for 3 years. She was punctual, discreet, diligent. Always the first to arrive and the last to leave. She rarely spoke unless spoken to. He realized now that he didn't know much else. A soft gasp escaped her lips as she turned and saw him. The container slipped slightly in her hand. She scrambled to her feet, clutching the lid, her face draining of color. "I'm sorry, sir," she whispered. Her voice trembled. I didn't want it to go to waste. I didn't mean." Michael held up his hand. "It's okay," he said quickly, his voice softer than he expected. "You don't have to explain." Rosa looked down, embarrassed, pressing the container against her chest like a secret she had tried to keep. Her small frame seemed to shrink under the weight of shame. "I wasn't stealing," she said, barely audible. "It's just leftovers. I know no one touches them after dinner." He stepped back, giving her space. "I know you weren't stealing." She nodded quickly but didn't look up. "I didn't want anyone to see me. I only eat after everything's clean. I didn't want you or Mrs. Harrow to think you were hiding," Michael said, not accusingly, just trying to understand. In the pantry, Rosa didn't answer right away. Her hands trembled slightly. "I usually wait until everyone's gone," she murmured. "Sometimes, if there's food left, I don't take much." Michael's eyes scanned the pantry. There were dozens of dry goods, pastas, oils, imported spices. But it struck him how none of it was hers. How this house, with all its abundance, never truly included her. "Rosa, do you not have dinner?" "I don't eat with the others," she replied. "They go home. I stay later. I usually eat at home. But this week I couldn't afford groceries. I send most of my money to my family. My grandson's surgery is next month. He's only 5. She looked up briefly, her eyes glistening. "I didn't want to ask. It's not your problem. I just thought, the food was going to be thrown away anyway." Michael felt his stomach twist, with guilt, confusion, something else he couldn't quite name. He'd never imagined anyone under his roof going hungry. Not with how much they spent on dinner parties, on catering, on things that didn't matter. "You could have told us," he said gently. "You've never said anything." Rosa gave a faint smile, tired and resigned. "Some things are not meant to be said. We just endure." The silence between them thickened, but not unkindly. Michael looked at the container in her hands, now trembling more noticeably. He stepped back and opened the fridge, pulling out the covered dishes the chef had left behind. Without a word, he began warming them. Rosa blinked, confused. "Please," Michael said, turning to her. "Sit down at the table. Let me fix you a proper plate." Rosa hesitated. Then, slowly, she stepped out of the pantry, still holding the cold container, her eyes full of something fragile, not fear, not shame anymore. Hope. Dash dash dash. Rosa sat at the edge of the kitchen island, her back straight, her hands folded tightly in her lap. A warm plate of food sat in front of her now, freshly reheated roast chicken, mashed potatoes, a small side of sautéed vegetables. Steam curled into the air. Michael had poured her a glass of water and placed a clean napkin beside the plate. He didn't say much while preparing it. He moved with quiet focus, the kind that comes when a person is deep in thought but unsure how to speak. He sat across from her, elbows resting on the marble countertop, watching her. She hadn't touched the food yet. "You don't have to be afraid," he said finally, his voice low. "I'm not angry." She looked up, her eyes cautious, lips pressed together as if she were trying to hold something back. "I know," she said softly. This is new." "What is?" Someone noticing. Michael let that sit in the air for a moment. The weight of it was heavier than it should have been. He shifted in his seat and looked at her more carefully, not as an employee, not as the quiet woman who dusted the picture frames and scrubbed the baseboards, but as a person, someone with an entire life he had never really seen. "Rosa, why didn't you just eat earlier? Or ask for a meal?" She hesitated, then reached for the water, taking a slow sip. When she set the glass down, her hands were still trembling slightly. "I used to eat before going home," she said. "But last year, I moved into a smaller place. Cheaper, but far from here. I can't get home before midnight if I wait for the bus, so I stay later. Finish cleaning. I told the chef not to worry about me." "But why?" he asked. "There's always more than enough. We throw food away every night." "I know," she said, voice barely above a whisper. "That's why I eat from the containers. After everything is put away." Michael leaned back in his chair. His chest felt tight. "You said you send your money to your family." She nodded. "My daughter's boy, Nathan. He's 5. He was born with a heart defect. He needs surgery. We were on a waiting list, but the hospital in Manila called last month. There's a spot now, but we have to pay part of it up front. So I've been saving everything. No groceries, no extras, just enough rice to get by." She gave a small, sad smile and glanced at the untouched food in front of her. "I figured a few bites from the leftovers wouldn't hurt anyone." Michael didn't speak right away. His mind was racing, not with anger, not even with pity, but with the realization that someone had been suffering silently, just feet away, day after day. He had walked past her dozens of times, thanked her in passing, left her tips at Christmas. But he hadn't really seen her. Not like this. "I had no idea," he said quietly. "You weren't supposed to," she replied. "That's how this job works. We come in quietly. We do what needs to be done. We stay out of sight. That's what makes us good help." The last words came with a soft bitterness. Not angry, just honest. Michael looked down at the granite counter. His reflection shimmered faintly in the polished surface. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then he stood and walked over to the drawer near the fridge. He pulled out an envelope and returned to the island, sliding it across the counter to her. She looked at it, confused. "What is this?" He sat again. "It's for the surgery, and some extra. For groceries. For you." Her hands hovered over the envelope but didn't touch it. "I can't take this," she whispered. "It's too much." "It's not," he said firmly. "Not compared to what you've already given. You've taken care of this house like it was your own. You've looked after our children, our home, and you've done it quietly, while carrying so much." Her eyes welled with tears. She opened the envelope slowly and stared at the check inside, her lips trembling. She looked back at him, as if waiting for him to change his mind. He didn't. "There's more," he added, reaching into his shirt pocket. He pulled out a folded piece of paper, a short note, written in his own neat handwriting. She took it with shaking fingers and unfolded it. It read, "For your grandson's healing, and for your quiet strength. From now on, you eat at the table, not in the pantry." Rosa pressed her hand to her mouth. Her shoulders began to shake. "I don't know what to say," she said, voice breaking. "You don't have to say anything," Michael replied gently. "Just promise me something." She looked up, eyes shining. "Next time, don't hide." Rosa nodded, tears falling freely now, but a small smile breaking through the sorrow. She reached for the plate at last, and for the first time in a long time, she ate, not in secret, not in shame, but in the light, at the table, as someone who belonged. Michael stayed there, silent beside her, watching. And for the first time, he really saw her.